lifted them up, Howard.
Paul, you conservatives make a mistake. You can't afford to strangle hope in people. Without hope, people become dangerous.
No, Howard. You liberals have let them invade our society. You give them jobs, political jobs.
Paul, you missed the point. It's only the smart ones we move up.
That makes it even worse.
No, we have to move them up. If we leave a smart one in the ghetto, he might develop into a leader against us. But if we raise him up into white society, we neutralize him. He feels compelled to try to act like us. He loses his identity and his racial anger, if he has any. He becomes alien to his brothers. They realize he sold them out, and they grow to hate him. He becomes worthless to them and safe for us. No, thank you. In fact, in his love for the creature comforts, except for his color, he's become one of us.
All right. Thank you, Sean. And happy Monday to all of you who are tuned in to Feedback, a positive image production by Hood Research. My name is Theo Broughton, co-founder of Hood Research, and my co-host.
The BD, and we welcome you to the program.
It's a nice day today. It's not as hot as it has been, but it's still an enjoyable Monday. And I want to thank all of you for continuing to support us, and for anyone who is interested in helping to sponsor this program, please make your check or your money order out to Hood Research. If you prefer to make it out to WHPR Broadcasting, we have no objection to that. But we would ask that you mail it to Hood Research at P.O. Box 4416, Detroit, Michigan 48204. Again, mail it to Hood Research at P.O. Box 4416, Detroit, Michigan 48204. You know, the telephone number for Hood Research is area code 248-234-2371. Again, that's area code 248-234-2371. For any questions, information, etc., always share with us. We meet on the second Saturday of each month at the Daybore Center. The Daybore Center is located on Grand River and Wyoming. That's 12048 Grand River on the corner of Wyoming. And our meetings are from 2 until 6 p.m. We bring in a variety of guests who talk about the issues that are affecting us locally. And I'm sure by now you know that politics affect us locally, be they federal, state, county, or city. The meeting on the weekend, we had a number of things that were going on. We interviewed Attorney Gregory Reed about the cruising in the D, and the Museum of African American History had a lot going on as well, right?
Yes, just like to say that it was a wonderful experience, African World Festival, and one of the beautiful things about it is to have as many of my brothers and sisters, elders, etc. out there. It was totally incident-free. There was so much stuff going on, you couldn't really take it all in, but I had an excellent experience. They honored the ancestors and the elders, which included Helen Moore, Joanne Watson, and Brother George Aknartoon, which many of you may remember had a restaurant and bookstore on Woodward. And he gave a very, I must say, very rousing speech about how we should get together and to understand where our history has been and where it has taken us. So it was a great experience all the way around. Brother Ruben, it was good to see you out there. I know Sly was out there. So, Brother Ramon, it was just a lot of people out there. It was a great experience.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I do want to say good morning to Errol, to Vera, and to Barbara. And, you know, there's so many folks that I come across on the weekend, and they talk about how they enjoy attending the Hood Research meetings and tuning in on Monday mornings to our show. We want to let them know also that we have On Demand that has been established by WHPR here. And you can get us on all of the internet and all of the high-tech sources. And what do I say? Take us along with you. Well, I just want to let you know that this morning we have a guest with us, and that is in Is it Bishop now?
It
Bishop
doesn't matter, Horace. It's just,
or Sheffield?
I'm not in the titles, man.
Oh, okay.
That's what's wrong. The church is too full of us.
No, there you got that right.
Enough room left for God.
That's an excellent point. Well, as we start, would you please tell us all who is Horace Sheffield?
Well, I want to say, first of all, I've noticed you mentioned Dabo Center. I want to tell everybody, because some other folks this weekend were mentioning it, it's Dabo Sheffield Center.
Oh,
and I only say
okay.
that because it was done in honor of my dad, who was always about empowering black organizations to empower the black community.
Okay.
But, I'm a product of the civil rights movement. I mean, I grew up watching my dad organize blue-collar workers for a better wage, and particularly black workers who at the time were not respected by white workers who had organized unions. And really, if they could have excluded black workers from earning higher wages and being a part of the collective bargaining process, would have.
Wasn't that the first reason for unions to keep blacks out?
Well, I was gonna say, if my dad wrote a pamphlet back in the '30s called "To Unite Regardless" under a pseudonym.
Okay.
So there's no question that the early organizing of the unions did not have blacks in mind, and part of the fight of black trade unionists, and even the struggle represented by A. Philip Randolph, who organized the first black union of Pullman car porters, was to make certain that black workers were represented in this industrial revolution and what was happening in terms of benefits gained for workers thereof. And that, by the way, is a powerful part of Detroit's history, Theo, as you well know. Some of the most powerful black trade unionists come out of Detroit were part of that national movement to organize black workers and to make certain that blacks were representing the leadership of predominantly white unions,
Yes.
like the UAW.
Yes, yes. Whew, I remember there was a documentary about the fight around Ford and
Yeah.
knock down, drag out, killing people.
Oh yeah, well, he had hired Bennett, who was his chief of security, and which is an amazing story, which is a part of my family, and Ken Coleman's writing his book. My grandfather was one of the first black foremen at Ford Motor Company, and all of my family members migrated from the South and worked at Ford's. And my dad eventually became the president of the very union or the unit at the foundry that my grandfather was the foreman of. But what was interesting is during that 43 strike, my grandfather stayed in the plant, and my father was outside calling black workers out. And it was precisely because many black workers believe, as my father said, that Henry Ford was the second coming of Jesus Christ. All these blacks were making more money they'd ever made. And really, that job at Ford Motor Company transformed their lives. They went from migrant peasant workers picking cotton in Georgia to living in their own homes in Detroit. And so to get to your point, the pressure that Henry Ford put on those black workers to not side with the union was substantial. And the fact that my father, who was in the union under the first guy's name was R.J. Williams before the Ruther brothers, and did not lose his job, my grandfather always said it was a testimony to his relationship with Henry Ford Sr. But that's a rich history. Part of what's, and I'm running my mouth, part of it's been lost, Theo, because in the days prior to now, the strength of black trade unionists is how we organize the black community in Detroit. And I'm wondering what happened, because we can't seem to get together about nothing now.
Seems like faith-based money seems to go a long way.
Yeah, well, it's black. I call it black faces and white spaces.
Well, that too.
And what's going to eventually happen with some of these people is once they ultimately gain the control and power that they seek to have, those who've been included will be excluded. And then they'll be running back to us talking about we need to do something about what they just did.
Right.
Oh, Lord.
No longer useful.
Yeah, I mean, they don't even see what's happening in terms of this major fight. B.J. Whittick wrote a book called Detroit City of Class and Race Violence. There's another great book out there called Who's Detroit? Both of these books talk about what's going on in Detroit since the 1800s, and that is, who's going to be in charge of the city, who's the city going to bless and benefit. And we do know, and I'm old enough to remember 5+1 when the fight was to get 5 liberal council people and a liberal mayor, Jerry Kavanaugh, because they wouldn't even deal with police brutality. They wouldn't even deal with what was happening to black folks in terms of open housing or the lack thereof. And it's a different face, but it's the same character that's going on today in our city.
Yeah, and there's so many ways to gentrify around here. The latest one, Gary Brown is talking about increasing the water bill
Right.
for the runoff water, not just on residents but on churches now. That's
Yeah, and the
latest
lot, what
trick.
they're charging for parking lots and all of these things is just totally ridiculous. One of the interesting things that you well know that during the bankruptcy, the only debt that was not forgiven was that associated with the water, the proprietary water department. Normally in the discharge of debt, it's across the board. But that was one of the things that if you owed money to them, you still owe money to them coming out of bankruptcy. And the aggressive nature by which they're collecting this money is unbelievable. And by the way, the sewage rates, now here's something you need to know. I've been living in the house I'm in for 7 years in University District. I've had no water in my basement for 7 years until recently. And I had to call someone in because in my furnace room, it flooded and it came out into the rest of my basement. And the guy came over and he snaked. He said, Reverend Sheffield, he says the city does not clean sewers anymore. So all the soot that's going through this, because they got rid of the department, what was the department where the trash collection was called? Whatever it is.
DPW?
Yeah, Department of Public Works.
Yeah.
Right. Remember, they had the equipment that would come and they would suck out
Right.
the sewers, right?
The ones in front of your house?
Right. When the last time you
some
seen that
houses
done?
I
It's been
haven't.
years.
Yeah.
So the guy's telling me that all the stuff that goes down the sewers now come back up into your lines. Okay, so I had to spend a bunch of money to have all of this stuff snaked out all the way outside to the lines in front of my house. So this is an issue, by the way, that people need to be aware of.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's part of what we've gone through in terms of paying these phenomenal sewer rates.
What
When
else?
you look at your water bill, the water is about 10% of what the sewer rate is.
Well, the other thing is the pumps. The city has pumps that they can turn on or not turn on. And the people way on the east side have had a second flooding.
Yeah.
And when they don't turn the pumps on, it also causes all that rainwater and other water to back
Well, that
up.
Connor and Jefferson area I know a lot about. Tell you why. I built my new church on the east side. You've been to the old church I used to pastor.
Yeah, Augusta.
And we had to change where the elevator pit was going to be because every time they'd go down, they'd find nothing but water. So they did some research. They did a geological survey and went down to the Burton Historical Society at the Detroit Public Library and pulled up pictures of people fishing in the Connor Creek at Gratiot and Connor. There's a literal creek, and it resurfaces out in St. John's Northeast Hospital, which is now St. John, whatever. But the point I'm saying is that water is underground. When they developed those areas, they basically covered the water.
So that's why the new houses are over there are
Continuously
flooding.
flooded, right? And what
Oh,
happened with me is I had a geological survey done, found this out because they wanted to charge us almost $189,000 in building our church to change the design for the elevator because they couldn't get a dry pit, and the city would not approve the elevator pit. And so I was able to prove that the city should have known that there was water underneath there.
Oh.
And we literally had to build an aqua filter around our church when we built that new church so that the water would not go into the basement and into the elevator pit. Now, this is stuff, I know we get into a whole lot of stuff, but the point is when we get back to the basements flooding and all this stuff is going on, that basically the city has not come around and sucked up
Oh no.
those clean up those
No, no,
sewers.
no, no,
But
no.
yet we're paying all that money for sewage.
I got a
Thank Gary
question.
Brown for that.
I'm just curious. We talk about, and Theo mentioned gentrification, and and I look at, let's say when they got rid of Paradise Valley, Black Bottom, more or less. I'm just wondering if they already. I'm sure they already understand that the flooding is pretty much epidemic there, and if it's just a way to get residents out.
Well-
because if you get the new residents in, like we talk about downtown and midtown, you can believe they're going to start cleaning.
Well, first of all, they
sewers
should
again.
never have basements over there.
Right.
But I don't like the term regentrification now. I like the word explication. We're engaged in urban explication.
Okay.
And that's why you have the creation of Midtown and Downtown, Detroit 2.0 -1. I mean, the real goal in Detroit is to rid this topography from people who look like us.
Right.
Yeah.
And that that's quite clear to me that the Section 8 housing being moved to Taylor and Melvindale. I mean, all of this
yeah.
is about.
talked about that.
And by the way, what's unique about this is just 4 or 5 years ago, Mildred Gaddis and people were championing leaving Detroit. People calling, I'm leaving Detroit. White folks were down in Detroit, and they really promoted that notion of us leaving, and they quietly were coming in and buying up everything. Where'd they come from? They were buying this stuff, doing this all along.
All the time.
While we were bragging about leaving, they were quietly returning. And if we don't look out, I say within 5 to 8 years maximum, you will never know that this town was black. You just will never know it. I mean, the way things are going, this whole plan that they have for this greenway over there where
On the east side.
and on the west side as
All
well.
the trees.
Right. I mean, basically tearing down housing, which reduces housing stock, promotes their values. But I mean, that's a whole plan that they have. But the problem is, quite frankly, Theo, and it's always been our problem, is that number one, we spend more time talking about what they're doing to us than doing anything about what they've done to us. And number two, when it comes time for us to do something about it, we can't get together because we're more concerned about the who than the what. It can be the right what, but if we don't like the who,
Don't want to participate.
yeah, I mean, I tell people that's why I don't run Wendell Anthony down. Because they run me down. I mean, it's if you got a better idea, then let's do it. I don't care whose idea it is. Let's just
put
get
it
all
on.
hands on deck.
Right.
Yeah, well, I guess that would bring us to the idea of what is going on now. You had a press conference and you had a meeting. Tell us about that.
Well, here's the deal. There's not equity in the NBA, and that's not across the board. There are some teams like Golden State and places like that have community benefit agreements, and the front office is as reflective as what's on the front court. But that's not true with the Detroit Pistons. Tom Gore's Platinum Equity Company has no African Americans at all, 2 Asians and I think 3 Hispanics, and only 5 women out of 38 partners. And that lack of diversity is reflected in what happens with the Detroit Pistons. The real issue is that we constitute, when I say we, people of color, over 65% of the market share in terms of who watches the NBA, which is where the vast amount of the revenue is produced. They don't produce that revenue from ticket sales. People say, well, I mean, black folks go to the game. Well, first of all, we've been priced out of the games. But the revenue is not reflective with who sits in the seat, but who views the games and who buys those products. And when you look at that large percentage of the market share, and then you look at what's represented in terms of the Detroit Pistons, it's an abysmal, abominable correlation that should exist, by the way, between what we spend and what we get. They've gotten rid of African Americans in the front office. The whole team has been more reflective of white than it is about black. And so we talked about greenlining, not spending our money. Bust the ball. And by the way, we've got national attention on this. I've listened to a lot of people talk all over this town, and people believe that this is an issue that is really real. And by the way, the Pistons responded when we give money to Pell. We're not talking about what you do to write off your taxes. We're talking about what money do you spend with us, in terms of the money you spend with companies that do business. We get clean carpets up there. I mean, we could provide T-shirts, whatever it is, but we're not represented in that money at all.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name, how you're viewing us, and what city, please?
Tyrone, and over the internet that I'm looking at, I was kind of thrown off a little bit. I understand that this talking about what affects the people of Detroit, we call it nationally ethnic cleansing, moving out one race of people and putting in another. Well, that's what we was talking about. All of a sudden, when I dial you, now we're talking about something about some money. What difference does that make about the money about a baseball when we're being moved out? Look like we should be talking about what we're going to do to stop being forced out like the Five Nations of the Indians with the Trail of Tears. Look like that's more important, but we switched on the conversation. How did that happen since I dialed?
Wait a minute. Tyrone,
Yes.
now are you producing feedback, a positive image production by Hood Research?
No, I was just wanting to know how did it happen that we was talking about something, then it got to be black capitalism.
But you just tuned in, right?
When I tuned in when y'all first came on, but you were talking about how they was pushing us out, taking water and doing this with us, and in 5 years we won't be in here. So do we want to stay here?
Can I help Tyrone?
We're gonna connect.
Tell Tyrone.
Well, I'm gonna just hang up and see what y'all say. What y'all talking about?
We really appreciate that. Wait,
Okay.
since you're a retiree from calling in, we appreciate that. You can hear me.
I'm saying
Go
we're
ahead.
multi-axial. You know, I mean, we have to deal with all the issues
And we're gonna
that
connect the
affect
dots.
us. Right. I mean, we're multi-axial. I mean, and they are related. I mean, the lack of economic activity,
Absolutely.
and the buttress in the bottom line of black businesses. Of course, the presupposition is, and it's not always true, that if you help black businesses, they're gonna help black people. I've lived long enough to know that that's not the case. The Be Gas campaign kept those black gas stations from going out of business. It was 33 when we began, and they all sold once we increased their stock.
We did the
But
research.
we've got to do the back end work too, and tell folks if we get you in the door, you got to open the door for us as well. But they're related. I mean, the fact that we don't have economic clout means we can be forced off the land. Means we do have to wait on other folks to redevelop our neighborhoods.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now there are. Okay, go ahead. We do connect the dots, by the way. Go ahead.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name, how you're viewing us, what city, please?
I agree. We have to connect the dots because they all are connected one way or the other. The fact that you had somebody else take over the water department, and now not only our basements are flooding and being backed up with sewage, but the freeways are backing up constantly every time it rains. And this is causing a lot of economic problems for the people because if their cars are messed up, they can't go to work to get that money. And so there are plenty of dots to be connected. The fact that the community benefits agreement, we need to understand what's going on in that area to shut us out and shut us down. And so, the list goes on and on. At some point, I feel like we're prisoners of war and we don't have any rights to anything. But even when the minister, the bishop there is talking about the NBA, as far as our black athletes and our entertainers, they're no more than branded commodity used for big business and advertisements to continue to build wealth for themselves, and we're still being left out. We have to wake up all people from the professional level to the lowest level. We have to wake up and understand what it needs to be done to fight these powers that's causing us to devour. Thank you for taking my call. Love
You're
you all.
welcome.
This coming
Thank you, Sylvia.
Saturday, for our broadcast today from 8 to 10, we're doing a whole 2-hour shows on the community benefits agreement. My daughter will be there. We're trying to get someone from the Benson side to come and explain that. I think they're a little shell shocked at this point.
I think you're right.
But there's an author, and I'm trying to think of his name, who calls sports athletes new paid slaves. And part of the reason we've gotten involved in this field, because I know a lot of professional athletes, and the attitude of owners are, we pay you Negroes enough money to play, the rest of the money is ours. And I have a friend of mine who had a black agent, and he was maligned and told, look, you'll make more money and you'll fare better with a white agent. So the attitude is, we pay you money that you really shouldn't be getting, based on your character, based on the social value, what you do, and you see many of them throw it away. We're not going to let you make all the rest of the money. Be happy that we pay you to play, and the rest of the money that comes from that is ours.
Well, the way it has been as well, we have a family friend who was a National Batting League champion for one, and was a pro player, and his brother too in football. He was in baseball.
Some of the Johnsons.
He had a
He
had a black agent.
Was my dad's secretary.
Oh, really?
You talking about Ron and Alex?
Yeah.
William May Johnson was my dad's secretary.
Lord have mercy.
And I grew up idolizing Ron
Johnson.
Johnson, number 30.
Yes.
That's the number I wore in college.
That's right.
His brother played for the Cincinnati Reds.
Yep.
I know the story. Yeah, no question.
But his agent was black.
Right.
And they resented that and wanted him to be the bad boy of baseball, and just harassed him.
Yeah.
Harassed him, and he would give interviews, but when they would print them, they would just twist everything that he said. So
Yeah.
he stopped giving interviews.
Yeah.
I know they have changed that these days. He went down to the newspaper. That's when they used typewriters. Wonder, where is so-and-so? Well, he's not here. Where is it? He sit over there. So he took some last and put on his typewriter.
Yeah.
But it was a good thing the guy wasn't there. But it was just a kind of hatred that was spewed out on him because he had a black agent.
Yeah. Well, I have a good friend of mine, I won't mention his name. He played for the Detroit Lions, and he had a black agent, and he was an all-pro player. They promised him a $3 million bonus if he signed during the free agency period, and he had a 5 o'clock deadline on let's say on a Wednesday the 3rd. Well, at 5:05, his agent faxed the acceptance, and they did not give him the $3 million, held him to the contract, and basically told him that if he had a black agent, he could have called the next morning, and they'd accepted it. Okay.
If a white agent.
Yeah, because the white agent they were buddies. He could have called him at home that night and said, "Well, we'll go with it." Are you with me? Because they have that congenialness between each other, that they're friends. And quite frankly, from some of the black athletes that I know, and LeBron James has changed this, of course, because he had nothing but black around him, is that they encourage black athletes to get white agents and tell them you'll fare better. But the white agents often are in league with the league.
Right, yeah, they recycle their money to this one that has the housing, that one that has the automobile dealership, this one that takes care of investments. Right. So they're recycling your money as an athlete with
But
their
it's all
plans
being
as
made by those folks who are on the court. Between the lines, buttress the bottom line.
Gotcha.
And that's what we're saying, that the bottom line ought to be shared with the folks who make the money for them, which are basically the fans, the television contracts. The Pistons and other teams would make it if they didn't get that money that the NBA generates from people who view. They're talking about products that they sell. We're 65% of that market. If we stop looking at TV and buying their stuff, they would go under.
So, go ahead. You were going to say? Oh, go ahead to the phone. I'm sorry.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name, how you're viewing us, and what city, please?
Yes. Good morning, fellow patriots.
Good morning, Les.
Comcast, yes. I agree with Bishop Sheffield that we need to stop spending our money where we're not supported. Like I told you at the meeting, I don't support the baseball, and I love baseball. I played softball for 10 years. I love playing. The first time I stepped on a court in a baseball diamond in 28 years was last Sunday, okay? Because that's how strongly I believe. When you don't support me, I don't support you, and I don't. It's forever, because it's to me. it's a systematic decision of your company not to support people that's giving you money. And that's what we do. We give them money, and we don't get no support back.
No return. No return.
That's right. So to me, I don't buy the Detroit Free Press or the News. And one of your callers called me one day on my show and told me I'm not an activist because I don't read the newspaper. But I told him, hey, it's other alternative press. I just choose not to pick up the Detroit News or the Free Press.
Right.
And I think I'm well informed. So to me, when we keep supporting things that don't support us, then we're going to continue to get what we get. And I'm talking about we got to make it where it's like the Montgomery boycott, where we put people out of business. And that's when I asked Bishop Sheffield, how far are we willing to go? Are we willing to put the league out of business if they don't comply with our wishes?
Oh, okay. Well,
I believe he asked me the same question to me. Now, first of all, we're doing this differently, Theo. And a lot of situations that I've been involved with in the past with certain civil rights leaders, I won't mention their names, we would create the furor, we would create the conditions for resolution, but then they would go in and negotiate them without us. So I told people at the meeting, everybody who came to the meeting who has any skin in this game, when the Pistons and they've agreed to meet, I talked with them again on Friday, and I told them we're not going to the Palace. They're coming to the Sheffield Center. And you'll meet with all of us. And all of us will have some input in terms of whether or not what they are willing to do is something that is acceptable to us. I'm not the only person that it has to pass a smell test with, because there's a variety of things. Steve Hood, for example, although I'm not focused on charitable contributions, really believes, and he's right, he said they give money to Jalen Rose and Dave Bing. Well, these are people who have access already. Does Jalen Rose need more money? He's a commentator with the NBA, ESPN. I mean, there are other folks out here doing things that don't have hardly anything with which to do it that could be really helped if that were to happen. So he wants to revisit how they decide what black folks, but quite frankly, the letter was offensive to me. When I'm asking you about how you spend your dollar, your business dollar, and you tell me we hired 60 youth for the summer and we give money to pay, I'm not asking about that. I mean, you should do that.
Yeah, both are temporary.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, we're going to let everybody be involved in this. We're going to come up with what we think is a reasonable resolution. And quite frankly, I think this is something the NBA needs to address overall. That's why we address the commission in this question, who we've yet to hear from. But we're going to keep putting pressure. I do know that Reverend Sharpton and Reverend Jesse Jackson have both weighed in and have been contacted by the NBA because I copied them on the letter. Both of them have told them that they're supporting what we're doing and that they need to negotiate with us.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to leave you with these words that the late, great Tatum Easton used to say on the great station, WHPR, is no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, just permanent interests.
Yep.
So we should all think about the interests that we have in our community and apply our tactics.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Right, and our permanent interest needs to be our community. Is somebody else? Yes, go ahead.
Hello, caller. You're on the line. Would you share your name, how you're viewing us, what city, please?
My name is Jay. I'm viewing you on Comcast. I just want to commend Reverend Shep. Hello?
Yeah, we hear.
We hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to commend Reverend Sheffield for this initiative. I also was at the meeting, and I like the inclusiveness that he used to garner and canvass people within the community. And I think this is an important starting point to basically highlight the importance of economic development for black folks. And he's starting at a level that, talking about sports, because so many of our people are tied into sports and entertainment, and to tie this in with economic development as far as the importance of the black dollar could be an impetus, and I've heard him talk about getting a critical mass. And I think that this is a good starting point, because so many times when we talk in the political realm, it seems like the mass of people don't necessarily have a connection because of so many other diversions. And sports and entertainment is something that our people are definitely into, and if we could tie that in with understanding how we spend our dollar as related to that, and the
Otis,
minimum of, return that we get from that is very important. And it, like you say, it connects the dots to the overall macroeconomics of black empowerment. So I just want to commit them to this, and I'm
Otis, listen,
right with it.
And Otis, listen to this, though. You know what's interesting? Now, I just, maybe it's me, but this whole way that this situation has been handled with this Olympian that lied about what happened to him, the furor over the young lady because she didn't put her hand on her heart. But then here on the Today Show this morning, they're basically trying to excoriate this guy from any real long-term damage so that they can basically resurrect him so that he can make more money in terms of endorsements. Now, the young lady from Flint didn't get a single endorsement when she won the gold medal in boxing. But I'm saying if you're not aware of the racism that exists in sports, then you're blind. You're absolutely blind because it's there.
Still taking place.
And the author that you were talking about is William Roden, and the book was $40 Million Slaves.
Okay.
We talked about the economic condition and the overall structure in sports as related to the black athlete. That's the author. That's in my library.
Yeah. Thank you, Otis.
That's good. Thank you for
Thanks
calling.
for the call. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name, how you're viewing us, what city, please?
Yes, good morning. This is Minister Burrell from Detroit on Comcast. I just wanted to make a comment about a statement that one of the voters made to me at the last election. He stated that, I don't know where this information came from, that the white race treats white supremacists as we, the black race, treat religion. That they have a network going, and it's all throughout the whole entire system in this country, including businesses, corporations. As like the faith-based, they sign the churches from being able to get into political and other areas, conspiracy and that type of thing. But meanwhile, if a black person goes out of business, say the telephone company does not tell them they can transfer their business calls for, say, 3 months, they immediately transfer them callers to that number to another business. So again, we're back to that network, and it's the invisible network that goes on between them to make sure that they keep us in captivity.
Well, thank you so much for that.
They do by nature.
For us to take into consideration.
They do by nature what it takes conjecture for us to do. You know, I mean, you don't have to tell them to operate in their own self-interest. I was saying to someone the other day, I mean, you would never hear of a protest. You would never hear of letters written. If the Jewish community were in the position we are in relationship to the NBA, I mean, the entire Jewish world, without having to send an email blast, a press release, would do what was in their best interest. But we have to use conjecture. We've got to stimulate, agitate, investigate, excoriate. We got to do all kind of stuff before we get our folks to act. And that's why so many things, Theo, are done, even in Detroit, right in this town, majority black, that they know they don't have to even worry about anything being done about it, or if it is, it's going to diffuse in a few days. Just wait them out. When the protest is over and the meeting is done,
calm down.
We'll be right back to business as usual.
But that's sad, because even during the mayoral campaign, we heard black folks saying, "Well, black folk had it long enough. Now we need to give it to a white man."
Right.
I mean, where does that mindset come from?
Well, and the other thing is that we're harder on ourselves than we are on others.
Yeah.
Now, there's no question in my mind, and I may get in trouble for saying this, that all of the things for which Kwame Kilpatrick was criticized, condemned, and convicted are no different than the daily practices that we see in this administration. People are given contracts in advance. They're brought in, and the terms of the contracts are discussed and then codified after the conversation. I mean, all of this stuff with the housing. I mean, there's no difference. All the people who've contributed to the mayor's campaign, include Jim Jenkins, black folks. I mean, these are all the folks who basically are getting the business. Now, in the case of black folks, the appearance of it is a crime. Y'all ain't with me today. In the case of white folks, the actuality of it is nothing. Are you with me?
Absolutely.
And it's just, I mean, it's terrible, and we know it, we see it. What's going to happen is another matter. We've got to return Detroit to integritous African American political power. Okay, and by that I mean people in public office ought not to be there for themselves. Wait till you get out of office and benefit from those you bless, but don't do it while you're there. But we've got to get back to the point where my dad said, they're gonna come after you. Just don't give them something to get you.
Right.
Let's be clean. We can be clean and still do what we need to do and live a good life and have nice stuff, but we ain't got to take it from the public.
Yeah. Right. I agree.
We got callers. But I was going to say,
ahead.
The thing that's interesting is that we can't play the same game by their rules because their rules weren't meant for us to win in the first place.
Because we don't referee the games.
Right.
We're not the judge of the game.
Yeah,
It'd be different if we were the judge of the game. Then we could say no foul, no offense. Right.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name, how you're viewing us, what city, please?
I saw on TV 91. Quickly, I want to bring up the point that the Olympics, the girls that won the gold medal because of their naturally high testosterone levels, their natural high levels of testosterone, and use that to scrutinize them and say that they shouldn't have won that gold medal. Also, I want to bring up that Steve Rhodes got a letter from the Mayor Canfield that states that you cannot close any failing schools in DPS till July 2019. So I guess if you're failing, that they're just fine with you failing.
You're
Keep
saying
your dumb and numb and divided.
So you're saying the EAA schools, which are all failing, are going to stay over till 2019?
Yeah, it says 19 law firm says a memo from Miller Canfield to Steve Rhodes says the state cannot close any failing schools in DPS till July 2019. Keep them dumb, numb, divided while the racketeers stay strong and united. Thank you for taking my call.
I got that.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name, how you're viewing us, what city, please?
Yes, my name is John.
Thanks for calling,
John. On channel 90 out of Flint.
All right, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
But what I'm trying to get to, you got a good spokesman this morning. I'm glad I picked up on it.
Thank you.
And especially going back to the union parts, because I have lived through some of the stuff he was talking. That blacks, the unions come up in one plan to keep blacks out of jobs. They come up with skilled trades to keep them out of jobs. Even here in the 80s, we had to even pick out a local 599, which was at the time was the biggest local in the country, because they didn't want blacks on skilled trades. And you like pulling teeth to get on it. So we even had to pick it our own union hall to make them, change their mind the way they did things. But the show like y'all got today, y'all should have another day to have this show too, because y'all got so much good information going out today. I tell you, it almost make tears come to my eyes to hear what your spokesman saying today.
Oh,
and
thank you,
like
John.
I said, if things happening, I hope y'all keep a good show like that, and I hope you have a night like this, because he's speaking from the hip.
Okay.
And when anytime y'all speaking from the hip like that, us black people out here need to know. We need to know things, and like I said, when you call a spade, you got no run one. So y'all have a good day.
Hey, John, can I say one thing to you?
Yes.
My dad was first African American elected official in the UAW. He was over the foundry at Ford Motor Company in Rouge. But my daddy always told me this, and I had to tell this to a young man recently who was used by the unions to displace a couple of folks on the Wayne County Community College Board of Trustees. My dad always said, look, I'm black first and union second. He said, because the white folks in the union, they white first and union second.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thanks for calling, John. And we're on every Monday, 9 p.m. WHPR. Please tune in. I'm sorry,
all right, then. Thank you.
9 a.m. You're going to miss it.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name? How are you viewing us? What city, please?
Hey, Thabiti. Theo, this is 6.
Oh, thanks for calling, 6-4.
I just want to say I applaud what you're doing, Reverend Sheffield, with the Pistons, trying to shake them down, basically. But I want to say this. I've always been a champion of rearing our children in a different way. They don't ever have to go to the NFL or the NBA or any of these sports. And here's what I mean by that. I had got a rap contract back in the 90s. And we were up there, the BD. And one thing that used to tick me off the most when I met these Caucasian men, these billionaires, is they would look at my size and height and say, wow, I'm surprised you're not a football player. And it would offend me because I'm like, wait a minute, man. All big black dudes ain't got to be football players. And see, here's the truth of this. They count on our genetic superiority to make them all of this money so they can support people like Alec and support these police unions who exonerate their police officers. I'm just all game that we start rearing our children towards sports, period, and encourage them to make mental games their sports. You don't have to be in the NBA to have a nice house, to have a nice car, to have a big bank account. You don't even have to go in the world of sports to do that. Could you imagine if there were no black people in sports, how would the world of sports look? It wouldn't even look like a world at all.
If no black folks were in sports, you could
create a
hell of
a
world peace
for economics in the world of white economics.
It's a powerful point, man. As I said, if blacks decided not to participate in amateur sports, now we got to talk about that too, because the NCAA on the college level, these athletes generate an awful lot of money, come out poor. But if we didn't participate, you could create, you could achieve world peace. You can get Putin to negotiate with Obama. If black
Real
folks,
talk, Reverend Sheffield.
Yeah, I know, man. It's a powerful point you make. I mean, it's extremely powerful.
And just think of what that would do on the lower level. Ain't no kids in high school even playing sports.
Yeah.
We all want to be scientists now. We don't want no basketball. We don't want no football. We want science labs now.
Right.
Could you imagine how that will affect the economic structure of those who we played for in the NBA? And I used to live with Kirby Richards. He was Emmitt Smith's backup. That was my roommate. And I know for a fact when them guys get them contracts, that money is allotted. Oh, best believe if we sign you, you go give to Make-A-Wish. Okay, that's non-negotiable. You go give. Your money is allotted to where it's going to go.
Yep. That's what we talked about a little
And
earlier.
I can't fault the player because we groomed him for that. Oh, you 6 foot. You at 9 years old, he was 5'8", and then when he got in the 10th grade, he was. What we gonna do with this big boy? His mama can't take care of him like that. Put him in sports. Sell him out.
Yeah. Well, the biggest,
the
saddest part about that is each year when they bring on players, how many can they bring on? If we got 50 states, okay. If you had 2 excellent players, that's what,
only
100 players.
Only about 1%.
They can't do that.
Only about 1%, Theo, of those who aspire to the NBA or the NFL make it. It's a
Reverend?
number.
Right.
They all good. They all good.
Right. But they all
Ain't
cannot
no
be on the
bad
team.
player out there.
Right.
But they just got to know they need to be looking at other ways of sustaining themselves and their loved ones, because they all will not join the NBA for next season.
And just because they tall or too big for their age, don't mean we have to pimp them to that system.
Yeah.
We could make them scholars. They could be mathematicians. Ain't nothing wrong with a 6'4" plumber or a 6'5" electrician. That's less ladder you got to use. You understand where I'm going?
You're right.
Hey,
thank
thanks
you
for
so
taking my
much
call,
for that.
Senor. Hey, Reverend Sheffield.
Yes, sir.
Hey, shake them down because you're right. A lot of other people got benevolent systems that reaches directly. All of that, I donate to PAL or I donate to Gleaners. No, what are you doing personally to make sure that these donations are being allocated to the right place?
Sure.
All right. Thanks for calling.
Appreciate your call. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name? How you're viewing us? What city, please?
This is Kwame.
Thanks for calling.
And I'm viewing you from Detroit.
Okay.
You know, Malcolm talked about when black people get rifles to protect themselves, everybody gets upset. White people been buying rifles all their lives. Nothing was said. See, when we get power, then people get upset. You got to research it. You got to do this. You got to do that. See, the sister was right. Whiteness is their religion. They look at whiteness the way we look at religion. So when something happens, they don't have to research it. If it's not in their interest, everybody makes the correct decision. That's power. And that's what we have to get back to in Detroit. I agree with Reverend Sheffield. Reverend Sheffield, I met you at the Shane musical event a long time ago. I didn't know you then.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I'm getting to know you.
By the way, let me put a plug in. I'm doing Frankie Beverly and Mays this Saturday at Shane Park as a benefit for the Sheffield Center where Theo and Hood Research meets. There's some tickets left. We've actually reduced by half the remaining tickets that are there so we can sell this concert out. So that's this Saturday at Shane Park, Frankie Beverly and Mays and Loose Ends.
Loose ends.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you, Kwame.
Thanks for your call. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name? How you're viewing us? What city, please?
My name is Yvonne. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm watching you on the internet. I'm glad to hear Mr. Sheffield this morning. And when he brought up about the unions, look like on these jobs now, the unions have lost so much of their whatever they had. Look like they didn't lost it. You take the head union people, they get in with management. Look like they don't really fight for the worker anymore. You know, they come out, when they come out, it's always in favor. It's never, you can't see a real fight there. You know, just look like the workers are just almost sold out. They get rid of whole departments, the custodian department, the food department, and then you wonder where your union rep. They don't tell you nothing. They don't know nothing. I mean, it has really, it has really come down a lot. Thanks for taking my call.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks for calling.
Well,
Wow.
I mean, unions aren't what they were, but thank God we still have them. I think that rank and file people who pay dues at unions have to put some fire up underneath the feet of the folks that they elect to be their local union president or whomever. And by the way, I don't want to get in trouble with DMC. I hope that doesn't sponsor you. But someone told me Milda Gaddis was doing a show on DMC. Well, I've been exposing them for the last year and how much money we put into that supposed nonprofit operation, which my dad chaired the board of, built the new hospital, and then we turned all of our assets over, gave them a 10-year tax deal, and then Vanguard sold it to Tenet for $200 million plus profit. Tenet has an official written policy. I have emails to prove it called Cash is King, and they share whatever profit their executives, their nursing managers make with them. So I say at Tenet, cash is king, but patient care is the pawn. And that's a crime. We ought to go back and demand every dollar of our taxpayer money. The tax abatement ought to be lifted. The Children's Hospital, 90% of the patients down there are African American. They don't have a single person to call in management at that whole hospital.
Well, no.
My dad was on the board of that as well. All that's changed. It's a shame.
Well, receiving hospital, they never should have gotten hold of.
Well,
and now they tell me they're just letting it rot so it can be
Well,
torn
I mean,
down.
Tenet has a history of that. I mean, they didn't even finish the construction projects that Vanguard had begun. We've got a whole hospital that did not even finish. So, I mean, my dad literally built that hospital, Theo. He was chairman of the board of receiving, fought Coleman Young. I saw them argue. Coleman wanted to get out of the hospital business. My dad said, we do that. Poor and uninsured people have nowhere to go. That was our facility built with taxpayers' money, and now we have an operation down there called Tenet, who has some significant African Americans nestled away, making tons of money. But at the same time, by the way, I'll say this, and I'll dare anybody refute me. On more than one occasion, a couple of their hospitals in the city of Detroit almost lost accreditation, were 30 to 60 days away from not being able to even bill for their services because of the nature of the audit findings.
What a life. Okay. We're on the line?
Yeah.
Okay. A quick second.
Hello, caller. You're on the air.
60
Could
seconds.
you give us a quick comment or a question, please?
Good morning. This is Dee Dee.
Hi, Dee
I'm watching you on real quick. I wanted to ask Bishop Shetfield, do you know the trainer, Luther Campbell, Big Lou?
He lives on my block. He's my neighbor.
Oh, my God. How is he?
He's well. He sits on his porch every day. Go on Warrington and 7 Mile, the first house.
I know
off the
right
corner.
behind the gas station.
No. Yeah, right there, that block. He sits on his porch every day.
He's not training anymore?
Well, he may
I
not be
understand he
training
was
other
in some
people.
car accident?
He looked like he trained himself. He still looked pretty good to me.
He still looks. No, he helped my son get into the NFL.
Okay.
And I lost contact with him.
Yeah, well, he's there.
About what time of day should I drive down
in the
street?
afternoon. This afternoon. He's got that
Thank
screen
you.
around his
Thank
porch.
you.
You won't miss him. Yeah.
Thanks, Dee Dee.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, goodness. Oh, man. We want to thank you.
I enjoyed it.
for
Thank you,
being
Theo.
with us. We have to do this again.
Yep.
I
love Theo Broughton, and I tell you, she's been an unrelenting voice, and people all support anything she does. One thing about her is she has accurate information. Can't have complete transformation without the necessary and accurate information.
Oh, the poor that don't know it. I want to say to all of you, it is not necessary for you to know everything. What is necessary is for you to know how to find what you need when you need it. And we at Hoop Research gather as much information as we can to share with you to help us all make better informed decisions. Tafiti.
If you want to be nothing, do nothing. But the only problem with doing nothing is you never know when you're finished. Also, tomorrow's the last day to register for Wayne County Community College District classes. 60 and over seniors can register for free. Do so.
All right. And thank you again for being with us. And we have to do this again.
Absolutely.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Peace.